first one to the bottom with the most beer in your glass shall be proclaimed this year's king of the mountain. Pushing, shoving, and cheating are encouraged.
You know, there's something about snow movies. They show up usually in the middle of winter. You're not really looking for them necessarily. They're just on. And especially ski movies. They have a very specific energy, whether it's raunchy ski comedies or horror films or just feel-good movies. They're about outsiders. They're about underdogs. They're about escaping normal life or proving something, sometimes to other people, sometimes just to yourself. And a lot of these movies didn't become classics in theaters. They became classics on TV, cable, and of course, VHS. So let's talk about the best snow and ski movies of all time. From heartfelt underdog stories to late night chaos. Pop that tape in. I got you. Let's go do this. All right, starting us off is one that if ski movies had a crown for odd, this one would wear it. And I am talking about Better Off Dead. Listen, this movie follows Lane Meyer, who's a teenager spiraling, and that's understating it. After a breakup, he's convinced his life is over, while the universe seems determined to mock him at every turn about everything. And so the skiing sort of ends up becoming the emotional backbone of this movie, something that it's building towards. The final ski race in this isn't just about winning, it's about reclaiming confidence in himself, dignity, identity, and proving a lot to himself. And it belongs here because skiing actually does matter to the plot and his self-discovery. The absurd, sort of crazy, abstract humor is timeless. It's a little nihilistic in some ways. The mountain setting feels lived in. I think this is one that rewards rewatching, and you could rewatch it a lot. This is a ski movie people could quote without even realizing it's a ski movie if they wanted to. Very different here, but I think it belongs on the list. Better Off Dead. All right, our next movie is what happens when a ski movie fully embraces the slacker culture, and that is Out Cold. Now, this one is set in an Alaskan, sort of a rundown Alaskan ski resort, and the movie follows snowboarders and ski bums whose carefree lifestyle is threatened by the evil corporate developer who tries to turn the mountain into a sanitized tourist trap, and that makes the plot sort of simple. We had a lot of these plots in like the 80s and 90s, particularly the save the mountain, party hard, annoy authority figures, ride until the lifts stop sort of thing. And that's why it works, because it understands ski town culture. It understands those old school sort of plot structures of films in the 80s and 90s, and it's goofy without being mean, and it thrives on rewatchability. This movie didn't find an audience right away like a lot of these, but cable TV, VHS, all that kind of stuff absolutely made Out Cold a favorite. Now, the next one is probably the most serious ski movie on this list, and it is Aspen Extreme. In this one, you have two friends who are chasing success in the world of extreme skiing, and they're trying to work their way to the elite Aspen scene as far as skiing goes, and discovering that ambition, ego, and danger don't always mix in snow skiing or life in general. And the movie treats skiing like a legitimate high-risk profession, because it is pretty dangerous, especially when you get to extreme snow skiing. And that's why it belongs here, because you've got real locations in this thing, real stunts, genuine danger, and sort of peak early 90s sports drama energy. This one is sort of a old school, dad approved cable staple right here. Loud and intense and but still somewhat surprisingly grounded considering what they're doing. Doesn't fall into the raunchy comedy or the horror tropes of this genre. It is skiing taken a little more seriously to the extreme with Aspen Extreme. And you remember how I said that the last movie didn't fall into all these different categories? Well, this one does, because I got to do this here. And every genre eventually gets ski movies, including slashers. And I am going to tell you about one that is very different. It's called Shredder. And I'm chuckling because the name, I immediately pictured the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Shredder. But that's just the occupational hazard of when I grew up. But the funny thing is this one follows a group of snowboarders who are vacationing at a ski resort, and they begin to get picked off one by a mysterious killer tied to a past trauma, which sounds very much like another film on this list. But this one is maybe even a step up in quality from that one, which is saying something. But is this prestige horror? Not in the slightest. It is peak early 2000s cable chaos. So we're not even going back to 80s, 90s with this. This is early 2000s, and it absolutely belongs here. The snowy setting adds to the atmosphere. I mean, it's legit. It combines ski culture and horror tropes, and it's the perfect sort of, I don't know if I should be watching this, but I am. And I'm going to kind of have fun with it. Energy. That's what you get from this movie. If you can find it, check out Shredder. No, not anything to do with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This is a snow ski horror film, craziness, early 2000s. Check it out. Have some fun. And then there is Ski School. Listen, this is exactly what it sounds like, and it is very proud of it. You've got two rival ski schools battling it out through pranks, parties, competitions, and all of that while ignoring anything resembling subtlety at all in this movie. There's barely a plot, and that's kind of the point. I mean, when you look at the artwork here, you get it. This is the same as the old VHS art. That's why it belongs here. It's pure early 90s excess. It still has very much 80s vibes to this. It was a cable TV and VHS rental favorite, sort of a cult film, little raunchiness to it. The definition of, it's on, leave it on, watch it. If you missed the first 20 minutes of it, it didn't really matter. You knew you could catch up, have some fun. Ski School. Yep. Ski School. And I'm already laughing, and I apologize because I saw the next movie that I have written on my list, and I couldn't remember what order I put these in. And, there's Ski School, so of course there has to be Ski School 2. And this one existed because VHS shelves existed, and you could put a hot woman on a cover and sell a raunchy snow ski comedy, and there was absolutely nothing wrong with that, nothing to be judged about that, just fun. You have the original characters from this film who return for more chaos, more parties, more nudity, more ski hijinks, more snow, lower stakes to it, looser structure. It knows exactly what it is, and it represents sort of that direct-to-video comfort era, watching there. A sequel that people didn't ask for, but they still watched. Late-night cable energy sort of distilled into this movie. This is the movie you watched because it was on or because you rented it, and that was enough. You didn't need any other reason than that just to enjoy it. Ski School 2, a lot of time I remember renting them both together for a double feature, telling my buddy Lee, we're going to have a double feature of these. Cracks me up. Ski School 2, check it out. And then there is a modern outlier that I didn't even know existed until my buddy Brian over at The Last Movie Standing introduced me to Eddie the Eagle, and I am wholeheartedly recommending this film to you. This is an outlier because it is based on a true story. It's a feel-good film of Eddie the Eagle, a man who wants to be an Olympian from a very young age, and that's kind of why the movie works. It's a feel-good, inspirational movie that embraces old school sincerity and earnestness without, acting like it's cringe or anything like that. It really goes for it. You've got a great cast in here. You've got Taron Egerton. I think that's how you say his name. I always get it mixed up. But he's playing Eddie the Eagle Edwards in this true story. It follows his life. You also have Hugh Jackman in here, and it's about an underdog ski jumper with no real support, no funding, no expectations, really no athletic ability at all. Nobody to believe in him except for himself. And that's why it belongs here. The whole thing's about skiing. We're in the snow. We're ski jumping. First, he's downhill skiing. He's trying to become an Olympian in any way possible, overcoming obstacle and obstacle put before him. And it's an underdog story told right. And there's something just so legit about that. Like, they even are forced to say it. They play real clips from the Olympics. This guy earned his right to be an Olympian. It didn't matter if he came in first or last. It did not matter. He proved something to himself. And of course, there's all kinds of crazy accidents, shenanigans, and stuff like that in the movie. It really feels like a movie from another era, plucked out and put into today. Hugh Jackman is great in it. I cannot recommend Eddie the Eagle enough. Check it out. And then on the other side of that is a very, very deep cut brought back to life by Vinegar Syndrome. You can find this out there to watch, though, if you want to. I am talking about Iced. This is a deep cut, like VHS horror film. A group of skiers return to a mountain lodge years after a tragic accident, only to be stalked by a killer hidden in the snow and picked off one by one. The plot is simple. The atmosphere does all the heavy lifting. They're really there in the snow in this location. You have lots of nudity, lots of crazy kills, lots of fun interactions between characters that feel like legit, like these people know each other. I will give it that. This is actually a blast to watch. You've got snowy isolation, VHS era obscurity. One of the big calling cards of this movie is it has a lot of cast from Sorority House Massacre in here, and it has the actress who played the original Wednesday Addams in here, and she has a interesting nude time in the freezing cold in a hot tub. I'm just going to say that. It's a perfect winter night, old school slasher horror film that you turn your brain off and watch. It's the kind of movie that you end up renting when you were just finding a cover and you went home and watched it. You really weren't seeking it out, but it is fun and it fits this category perfectly. Iced. And then there is Hot Tub Time Machine. Look, this had to be here because, yes, it counts, and I love Hot Tub Time Machine. It's set in a ski resort town, and it kind of mixes all this stuff because you have these people who grew up in the 80s, and they're longing for that old school 80s skis culture, easier times, simpler times, going back to that and finding their youth. It all takes place in a ski resort town as Hot Tub Time Machine follows all of those guys who accidentally get their wish and travel back in time to the 1980s and get a chance to relive or fix their past. All covered with snow, skiing, 80s nostalgia. It doesn't get more peak than this on this kind of list. Skiing isn't the focus. Snow town, ski vibes, all that raunchy comedy, 80s era goodness, that is the point of this movie, and that's why it belongs. It is built entirely on nostalgia and snow. It embraces 80s culture unapologetically. It doesn't apologize for it, and it feels like a love letter to 80s comedy. This movie works because of what it's referencing, and it respects it. Hot Tub Time Machine, one of my favorites. And finally, at number 1, we have the Citizen Kane of ski movies, snow movies. This is like Rocky meets Animal House meets Porky's meets Revenge of the Nerds, in anything you can think of with Hot Dog, the movie. If ski movies had an exploitation wing and a Hall of Fame, this is the one that's in it. Hot Dog the movie follows an underdog skier trying to prove himself in a ski competition, and it's all wrapped up in a raunchy sex comedy 80s style late night cable VHS goodness. Mwah. It is chef's kiss of all of those things. That's why it belongs here, because it represents the raunchy 80s VHS era. Ski culture meets 80s comedy, sex comedy trends. An undeniable part of this movie's genre DNA are those 80s sex comedies and stuff like that. It belongs here. This is a fun movie, very rewatchable. The sort of overall concept still stands up today. This is not a movie that you watch necessarily because it's good, though I say it's the Citizen Kane of these type of movies. You watched it because it was on. You watched it because you rented it. You watched it for the nudity. You watched it for the fun. You watched it for all those reasons, not because it was high art, but because it was an absolute blast. And during the winter, it kind of made you feel like you were wrapped up in it. So Hot Dog, the movie, comes in at number 1. So there you go. The truth is, ski movies aren't really about skiing. They're about freedom. They're about snow and beautiful scenery, escaping routine, proving yourself, getting the girl, getting laid, whatever. That winter is possibility and not always just isolation and limitation. They're about fun. They're about coziness, all of that kind of stuff. They lived on VHS. They lived on late night cable when you shouldn't have been watching on Skinamax. They were easy to jump into and hard to turn off, and that's why we still remember them today. So what's your favorite snow or ski movie in this genre? Which one could you stumble on halfway through and watch? Let me know in the comments. I know there's a lot more. I thought about more after I made this list, and I have all of these, and it's so much fun to revisit them. I encourage you to do the same. And if you enjoy this, I encourage you to like and subscribe. That really helps out the channel. If you enjoy what we do here, you want to support this pop culture, family here, you can join my Patreon. The link is always in the description, and you'll get your name and lights on every single video, behind the scenes looks at my filmmaking, members only videos, 4K physical media reviews, all that kind of stuff, and so much more, and it all helps support the channel, and I really do appreciate it. But until next time, be kind, rewind like always. This is Chase with AV Pop Culture, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye. I know.